Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. The show is about to
Welcome to the
on this episode. And welcome back to Bucklesberry Lemonade. I'm your host, Lisa, and my wonderful co host, Timothy, is with me today.
Well, hello, my lovely bride. How are you?
I am wonderful. How about you?
I have no complaints. God is good. So, what
God,
do we have on tap for today?
we have Unsolved North Carolina Homicides.
Oh, and we do have quite a few of those too. So,
We do.
well, without further ado, are you ready to start?
Let's go.
All right, and I'll kick it off. The first story we want to talk about is Andreas Cortez Gomez. This is an unsolved homicide from October the 5th of 1995. This took place in Sampson County, and here are the details. On a Thursday, October 5th, 1995, Andreas Gomez was shot and killed at the Doug Wilson Farm Camp located on Auctioneer Road off Highway 403 in Sampson County. While he was looking out his window after three suspects had attempted to rob another farm worker. Mr. Gomez's murder occurred during a time when at least 14 robberies of different migrant workers had taken place and had been reported to the Sampson County Sheriff's Department. And all this happened between 1994 and 1995. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of detail regarding this case, but it's something that still needs to be solved. Um, the suspect, there were actually three suspects total, but the one that did the shooting was described as a black male between 5'6" and 5'8", and he was heavy set. Now, like they said, during this time there were at least 14 robberies, and I do know from doing a little bit of research on this, Lisa, that at least one other murder took place as well, but I wasn't able to find the name of that victim, so I don't have it to share. Um, Unfortunately, it's one of those sad things that, with this being a migrant worker and seasonal, here today, gone tomorrow, I think maybe some of this could have been swept under the rug.
Yes, you're probably right. And also, they were trying to break into other migrant trailers.
Yeah. And it seems that what they were realizing was a lot of these migrant workers, because they do travel around the country, they realized that they probably had a lot of cash from getting paid. They're all living in these different conditions, and there might be two or three families in one trailer or mobile home, and it's one of those that they saw it's a crime of opportunity. They knew that they probably had cash, and just an easy payday for them. And unfortunately, Mr. Andreas Cortez Gomez lost his life.
Yeah.
And
Or have you thought of it this way? Yeah, they could have been looking for somebody who they had uh, a beef with or something.
no, because I actually did a lot of research into this. It's one of those things. They were actively robbing these migrant workers
Oh,
during this
okay.
time frame. And like I said, there was a total of at least 14 that had been reported during this time frame. And it's just sad because Andreas Cortez Gomez, he more than likely has no family here. Um, it's one of those things that where justice needs to take place, and unfortunately, unless somebody steps forward and says, hey, look, I know something about this, it may never be solved.
And that
Uh,
is so sad.
it is, and again, this happened October 5th, 1995. And folks, if anybody listening to this podcast, if you know anything at all, we urge you to contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. We'll repeat this phone number over and over throughout the podcast, but that phone number is 1 800 334 3000. Again, that's 1 800 334 3000. If you have any information that could lead to the conviction of the murderer or murderers of Andreas Cortez Gomez that happened on October the 5th, 1995, please step forward. Do your duty, be a good human being, and do what's right and report this.
Please. You never know. Their family, it would mean the world.
Yeah, yeah. And
Oh,
that's the first one, and unfortunately, there's just not a lot of information regarding that, and that's due to the circumstance with him being a migrant worker. I
it is.
have been on one of these migrant camps before. The living conditions were not good at the one that I visited, and you could see where it would be rife with crime within the camp itself. But the fact that these people were coming onto the camp and really just having their way, just robbing them at will. I mean, 14's a lot of robberies. So, not only about Mr. Cortez, if you have any information, but if you have any information regarding any of those robberies that took place between 1994 and 1995, please report them.
Please do.
And with that, which case would you like to go over?
Okay. Let me give me just one quicker second. His name is Kenneth Michael Leaf, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on this one either. Um, the date was 6/24/2010. It was in LaGrange, North Carolina, Lenore County. It's on Thursday, June 24th, 2010, at approximately 11:30 p.m. Manager Kenneth Michael Leaf was shot and killed in the parking lot of the Bojangles restaurant located on Highway 70 in LaGrange, west of Kinston, as he was leaving his job. Surveillance cameras from a nearby business captured the murder on video. The murder suspect drove a four-door, dark colored Mazda 626, model year, model year 2000 to 2003. Mr. Leaf was murdered one day before his 56th birthday. Oh my goodness. If you have information about this case, call the Lenore County Sheriff's Office at 252 559 6140. If you have any information about this or any unsolved case in North Carolina, please contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1 800 334 3000. As he said, we're going to keep repeating it, 1 800 334 3000. There is a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the death of Kenneth Michael Leaf.
Well, I remember this one.
I remembered this one too. It was this one is right down the road from right down the road from our house.
Yeah, and it's one of those things to where, I mean, just last week, I went right by this Bojangles,
Hmm.
and I thought about Mr. Leaf. I in studying for this, researching it, I came across a piece of news footage where his daughter was interviewed, and she was interviewed. This was 3 years ago.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, they still do not have any information other than what we've shared. There's no um, rhyme or reason. All they know is that it was a four-door dark color Mazda 626,
And
and
it was caught on camera too. It looks like that would, but it was across the street. I get that, but it was dark.
yeah, you know what recorded it? That little convenience store directly
Yeah,
across the street
right,
is
directly
what
across
recorded
the street. And Did they take the money or not? He didn't have any money.
No, I mean that's always been uh, a thought or a theory, is that they probably knew he was the manager and might have been going to make a deposit. I don't know what their schedules are, but 11:30. I mean, why are you going to make a money drop at 11:30? But then again, you never know. I mean, it could be that might have been the time period, and if somebody knew that and was expecting him to have the deposit bag, but why kill him? I mean,
If he
why kill
didn't
him
have the
over
money, let him go. I mean,
it? Hmm. I mean, and maybe they realized he didn't have the money. Maybe he recognized them.
maybe. Do you think it was just one person or do you think it was more than one?
I'm not sure. In looking through that, you know, they don't even have a description of a suspect, only the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like to me that I think this is where the robbery theory goes out the window, because everything that I could piece together, um, whoever the person was doing the shooting didn't get out of the car.
That yeah. Now, if you didn't
So
even get out the car, you're not in it for the money. There's
yeah, it's
another reason.
you either hate this guy, you got a case of mistaken identity, or somebody's put you up to this. I'm not really sure, but I have often wondered if there isn't a whole lot more to this backstory.
There's a lot more that we don't know.
Yeah, I believe that.
Only whoever did this knows the whole story.
Yeah, yeah, and
And one day the whole story will come out. And it can
maybe
be you if you help, if you know anything, please, please say something. Give his daughter
his daughter
peace
and
of
his
mind.
son. He's got two
His
children.
I didn't know. Okay. Give
Yeah,
his son, yes, give his kids peace of mind. Give his
yeah.
grandkids peace of mind.
And I can't remember what state he was originally from, but he is not native to our area.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think that's right. I can't remember either.
And it's one of those things to where I I don't know. I mean, robbery has always, that's always been thrown out there, but it looks like to me, that maybe, just maybe, um, there's more to that. He was a native of New Jersey.
Okay.
Okay, and he was shot, like you said, a day before his birthday.
And
So
that's so sad. That
it's
is so
very sad.
sad.
Very sad.
And I'm gonna throw out two phone numbers again. If you know anything, the least little bit can help. The Lenore County Sheriff's Office at 252-559-6140 or 1-800-334-3000 for this case or any case that you hear here, or if you know about any case anywhere. Help
Exactly.
somebody.
Yeah. I mean, guys, these families need closure.
They really do.
So, and guys, the majority of these cases that we're going to go over today, there there's not a lot of information regarding a lot of them. The one that I'm getting ready to go over is probably the most widely known, and it's the Below murders that happened in 1993, and
I remember those.
I remember those too. And we actually have done a deep dive on this particular case. We've got a full podcast that we recorded some months ago. If you guys would like to take a listen to that. And while we're at it, guys, if you're enjoying in our podcast and like what we do, hit the like and subscribe button. And if it's okay, share it with somebody. Let's get the message out and see what we can do to help these people.
If somebody might know something.
Exactly. So, like I said, the next one would be the Below murders. This happened in June 6th, 1993, in the small town of Windsor in Bertie County. And on Sunday, June 6th, 1993, at around six, or approximately 6:15 p.m., a black male who was already in the Belo grocery store in Windsor, meaning he actually hid inside the store until they closed.
Mm.
Used gray duct tape to bind his victims. He
There
also
were
used,
6 of them.
there were six of them, and he also used um, dog chains to, and he stacked them into three piles. So he literally was stacking people on top of each other. He then shot into the piles, killing three of his victims. The fourth victim was shot. The fifth victim was stabbed. Both were left for dead. The sixth victim was not hurt. Some of these were staff, the manager of the store, a clerk, and then the rest, or some of the rest of the crew, were from a cleaning crew that had come to clean up that night. And again, we go into a deep detail about all this on an earlier podcast. Um, what we do know, there was also a robbery earlier in the month at a convenience store, and there's a possibility that this could be linked to him. We also know that another robbery took place at another grocery store in Hertford after this, and it's almost identical to the same MO. And there is a theory that this could be it could be the same fella. Um, what they said was when this happened, he was calm, cool, and collected, and was so matter of fact that is what was unnerving to the survivors. It seemed as if he could have been military trained. He could have been used to being in this environment. Um, and when I say environment, the idea of it being so heightened,
High
you,
stress.
high stress, that he may have been a former police officer. He actually alluded to a few comments that made people think he may have been a former police officer. There's a lot of speculation because no more money than he got. Was he a strung out drug addict? From researching this a while back, I do not think he was a drug addict. I just don't. I think he was too well put together for that. I think he meant to do this the way he did it, and he had a purpose for it. And the description of the suspect was a black male, medium complexion, 30 to 35 years of age, slender but a solid build, military style haircut, crew cut, light brown slanted eyes. He had a narrow nose bridge, which usually is the result of a sports injury or maybe a punch to the face or something like that. And again, folks, we won't go into a lot of detail about that here. We do have a earlier podcast that covers all of this. But if you have any information about the Belo murders that happened on June 6, 1993, please call the Windsor Police Department at 252-794-3111 or the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-334-3000. And these families need closure because I have actually been in this grocery store, and Windsor is a small town. It is a lovely little town, and these things just don't happen in Windsor. And like I said, they know that he had hidden out in the store and waited, and see that shows cold calculation. And somebody who's strung out on drugs is spur of the moment. They're not sitting there thinking that, you
Mm.
know.
And
And
for him to have sat and wait.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's just it's just crazy. And it's just one of those things. There's some other cases that could be connected. I do feel like the case in Hartford is connected. I feel like that is the same person. That case doesn't get a lot of publicity,
Attention.
but yeah, attention. That's a better word. But I feel like it is related to him. And I'm not so sure the lady in Robertsonville, that particular store, she lost her life. She was on the phone with and her name
It
escapes
could
me.
it could have been. She could have been though.
Yeah, she very well could. It could have been the same guy. you know.
We just don't
Um,
know.
but again, guys, if any of you um, have any information about this case at all, please do your duty and contact either the Windsor Police Department. At least if you read off that number for me,
It is the what's please the
the Windsor Police Department.
okay, hold it. Okay.
I've
That
got it. I'd lost
okay,
it.
I'd lost it too.
Yeah, it's 252 794
I thought
3111.
you were so
Yeah.
good at keeping it.
Yeah. Or the North Carolina State Bureau of
That's
Investigation
the
at
one
one
I
eight
was gonna read
hundred.
off.
Well, help yourself. Go right ahead.
1-800-334-3000. Please, please call them. If you know anything, it might be small. You might not think it'll help, but you never know.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, that's one of those things to where it's just sad. I mean, the fact that there's no more information on that, and you know, I feel like this guy was. I feel like he took off. I mean, he committed the robbery and he disappeared. He may be in jail somewhere else. He may be dead by now.
I look at it as not so much. I look at what if it was my child that got killed and I
Exactly.
never knew? I would want to know. I would
Yeah.
be scared. I would grieve myself to death, and I'd want to. I would have to know, and I'd have to look them in. Why did you kill my baby?
Yeah. And the lady I keep mentioning, it took me a minute to find it. Audrey Leggett, and the convenience store was Cherry's Cupboard. And Miss Audrey lost her life. Her daughter, unfortunately, was on the phone with her. They
And
were
she
actually
heard it.
swapping recipes, and you know that's just horrible. They were swapping recipes, and that's just not what you that's just a hard pill to swallow. But could it be the same fella? I've speculated. I speculated on the podcast about that. But
I
I
don't
it's
know.
a possibility. He could have been a career criminal, just making his way through. Because you go. I'm not sure, but it all happened around that same time frame, and then you've got the store in Hertford, and I just I feel like there's some definite connections there.
I do too.
So next
Um,
up, who do you have?
we have Brian Keith Smith, 5/1, 1994, in Brunswick County.
Yeah,
It was on a Sunday, May the 1st, 1994, around midnight. He was last seen alone on Front Street between the Ice House Bar and the Mickey Rats nightclub in Wilmington. The next week on Sunday, May 8th, 1994, his body was found in Town Creek, Brunswick County, approximately 8 miles from the Town Creek Bridge on Highway 17. Special attention should be given to this notice in England since the icebreaker, the HMS Endurance, was in port at the time, and some of the sailors from that ship may have seen or heard something which would provide important information to investigators. The victim also spelled his name as Bryan, Bryan.
yeah,
If you have information about this case, call the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office at 910-253-277. Or if you have any information about this case or any unsolved case in North Carolina, please contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-334-3000. And there is a $6,000 reward leading to the information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the murder of Brian Keith Smith. This has very little to go on. I
Very
mean,
little.
very little.
I'll tell you something interesting though. You remember the documentary about the Smiley Face murders,
Yeah,
where a lot of young men would go missing, and they would be by a body of water,
yeah, but was
and
that in 1994?
well, there's no telling how long that's been happening. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that should be. That's true.
I don't know if there's a correlation or not, but I just find it eerie that there's some similarities there. That this young man was on Front Street between the Ice House Bar and the Mickey Rats nightclub, and you know, is that possible? I'm not sure, but
But
something
this has very little. I mean,
there's hardly nothing to go on
nothing.
here. You know, I mean, he was found in the Towns Creek, Brunswick County, about 8 miles from the Town Creek Bridge off Highway 17, and
That's all.
really, that's conjecture on my part, but it does make you wonder. There's some similarities there, not a lot, but there are some there. But again, folks, that's what we told you in this episode. A lot of these cases are just, there's not a lot of talk about it. The most well-known case out of this bunch is going to be the Below
Below
murders.
murders.
Yeah,
But now I'm going to say the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office number again is 910-253-2777.
exactly.
We could make it a song.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. And then the next case, this will be the second most well-known case from our list today. And I do remember this one, and this one is heartbreaking. And this will be the second most well-known case, and that would be Brittany Lynn Locklear. And this happened on January 7th, 1998. Um, on the morning of Wednesday, January 7th, 1998, little Brittany, she stood waiting for the school bus to pick her up. She was only 5 years old. She was abducted from outside her home on Graney Road in Hoke County. After an intense search, her little body was located the following day in a ditch next to a farm road, approximately 3 miles from where she was last seen. Physical evidence from both the abduction site and the body recovery site were sent to the SBI laboratory for processing. And the focus for the investigation was the description of the vehicle driven by the suspect. And after reviewing the information received and re interviewing witnesses, investigators believe the offender was driving a full size pickup truck of an unknown color. Hundreds of leads have been investigated, and police continue to seek help. However, every lead they get, nothing has really turned up. And Lisa, if you'll read off those numbers for me real quick.
Um, just gives the doesn't give that one. It just gives the 1-800-334-3000 number.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's a $20,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible.
yeah. And this one is heartbreaking.
That's very heartbreaking.
I mean, this is just horrible.
It is very, very horrible.
Yeah.
It just,
And you know, there's been some people that have criticized her parents um, because she was at the school bus stop by herself. But you know, it's heartbreaking. It, there's
I
so
mean,
many things could be said.
where was her mom at? I mean,
Um, I've done some research on this, and she was in her driveway. I mean, she's standing
She
there
was
in her driveway.
home, I
She
know
was
that,
home.
and I'm sure her mom was in the house.
Hmm. Well, see, neighbors who lived maybe 500 feet away, they say they saw it. Said a man in a pickup truck stopped in front of her driveway. They think he was white, but he may have. And by the way, Brittany Locklear is a Native American. So when we say white, they're saying he could have been a white man. He may have been an Indian. He could have been a light skinned black man. Um, but they're not sure. But he grabbed Brittany, and she'd made no effort to fight him. So the neighbors thought nothing of it. You know, so imagine how they feel. They saw this and didn't think nothing of it. So, um, but her mother realized she hadn't got on the bus, and immediately a search was launched. And her clothes were found roughly 3 hours later in the woods a few miles away, and then the next day her nude little body was found in a drainage ditch. And I won't say it because of um, the platform this podcast will appear on, but she was SA'd.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, wow.
and she, like I said, she was Native American, a member of the Lumbee tribe,
Mm.
and she loved Barney. That was her favorite TV
Oh,
show.
my that in the 90s, yes, because my baby loved it too.
Yeah, and even she'd even named her dog Barney.
Oh,
And it's one of those things that they just don't have any information to go on. I mean, there's been a few theories here and there, but nothing concrete. I mean, it's just a beautiful little
little girl.
baby that
Yes.
that was taken. Um, at one point in time, they did have a suspect who might have been a former Fort Bragg firefighter, and they conducted some DNA tests. Um, they suspected him because he had photos of her in his locker at the fire station, and he was arrested on an unrelated charge, but nothing became of it. And nothing. The DNA tests don't come back with anything. No progress. Nothing. And where do they go? The neighbors were elderly, um, so in their mind, you know, they were in a state of shock when they realized what had actually happened. And mom, um, she was asked, did she ever see a truck that description or anything like that drive past? And she hadn't, you know. So it's still up in the air, and hopefully one day they can have closure to this. I mean, this little baby was some horrible things were done to her, and she was just dumped in a drainage ditch. So
Mm-mm-mm.
it's just
That's just,
horrible.
it is horrible. And I hope we can get closure for them.
Yeah,
1-800-334-3000.
yeah.
If you know something, say something.
And folks, if you do any of your research on your own, when you look this up and see little Brittany, just a beautiful little girl taken
Way too soon.
way too soon. And if you know anything at all, Lisa's giving you the numbers. Do your duty. Do your duty. Because at the end of the day, whoever done this sack of shit needs to pay for what he's done.
He
Because
really does.
more than likely,
She's not the first, and she
she's
was not the last.
that's exactly right. And I couldn't connect any dots on that in doing the research on that. I just couldn't connect anything. And I don't claim to be a professional investigator by any means, because I am not. I'm sure the SBI and local law enforcement are are working on connecting dots because this case is ongoing, and there have been several that have said they're not going to let this rest until they can bring justice to his family.
And I hope they do.
Yeah,
And whatever little part we can do, I sure hope we help.
yeah. So, you want to take care of you want to go over Cecil Lawrence,
Chicon,
yep, Jr.
I sure do.
Okay.
He was sick June the 8th, 1992, in Henderson County City in Vance County. Let's see. In June 92, Cecil Lawrence Chacon Jr., he was the vocational coordinator at the Vance County Schools, an economics and business teacher at Vance Granville Community College, and a business teacher at Vance Granville Community College, and a park ranger with the Army Corps of Engineers. He was also active with the Boy Scouts troop of St. John's Episcopal Church. On Sunday, June 8th of 92, he returned from a long trip to Wilmington and stopped to visit his mother on Nelson Street at about 9 p.m. Mrs. Chacon wanted him to stay for the night, even though he lived only a few miles away. He declined and left alone in his 1976 Buick Skylark around 10 p.m. Wow. This was the last time he was seen alive. The Vance County school system did not hear from him on Monday, even though he was scheduled to work. And Mr. Khan did not hear from him either, although he called his mother almost daily. Two deputies went to his residence around 9 p.m. They noticed an open window on the east side of the house, and the spotlight at the rear of the house was on. No other lights were on in the house. The front window screen was laying on the ground, and the deputies thought a breaking and entering may have occurred. One deputy entered the house through the basement window. Upon entering a child's bedroom, deputies noticed furniture overturned and dark stains on the carpet. His body was found buried in the backyard of his residence. Oh my goodness. He had suffered numerous stab wounds. His body had been dragged out of the his body had been dragged out of the back door and buried in a shallow grave approximately 140 feet from the back of his house. This was no simple task since he was 6'4" and weighed 295 pounds. A blood luminal test was conducted in his residence, which revealed bloody bare footprints found inside the residence. Investigators were not sure if robbery was the motive. They also noted that the criminals made an attempt to clean up the scene by mopping the kitchen floor and vacuuming the carpet. Good criminals.
Yeah.
Not. A witness reported seeing a Chevrolet Blazer type vehicle parked near the Chacon residence around 10:30 p.m. Monday night. The vehicle may have been red and black with yellow license plates. If you have information about this case or any unsolved case in North Carolina, please contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations at 1-800-334-3000. My goodness, he was buried in his backyard.
Yeah, but that, there's a lot of fishy stuff about this one.
There's a lot of fishy stuff about it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this one.
Yeah. Um, he had been gone for a long time. He'd been
No,
on a
well,
trip.
he worked at the school systems, he in the college.
Yeah, but he had been away for a while. It's my understanding. And
From a long trip. Yeah, it was said a long trip. Yeah, but I don't know how long was a long trip.
but you're gonna grab, if you might as well say, for all intent purposes, by the time you add in clothing and shoes and everything else, a 300-pound man. He got dragged 140 feet in the backyard,
I
and
know.
then you tried to clean up. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. Somebody knew this man. You know, um, he was estranged from his wife. I do
Wow.
know that. That I'm not sure.
You've never
Um,
shared this story with me before.
yeah, I only when we decided to do the podcast on some of the unsolved, and we included this one, I got curious, so I just started doing a little digging. He was estranged, okay,
Uh-huh.
and it's just crazy. I mean, this is one of those things to where why are you trying to clean up? If you wanted to rob this fellow, why didn't you go rob him and be
Do you think
gone?
it's more than that?
Yeah, dude.
What do you think?
I think somebody knew him. I think somebody had some ties to this house, um, and didn't want to be associated or tied to this case.
Do
I
you
mean,
think it might have been
I don't
the
know.
wife? Yeah.
I, I don't know. I mean, his mom, he called her daily. That's what was said,
Yeah,
and
almost daily. But I
he didn't.
called my mom daily. I
Yeah, but
called my mom twice a day.
he didn't call her. Yeah, but you were like clockwork, 11:30 and 10:30.
Well,
And it's one of these things here to where he didn't call her, and what they said was she immediately called the police, and they
uh,
only lived like 3 miles apart. Why
wow.
she's right to his house. If and I do realize that as a mother,
Depending on how old she was.
well, sometimes you get that sixth sense as a parent, something is wrong,
Yeah,
and that
true.
may be what happened here. But why are you going to go through the effort of dragging him in the backyard? And I don't think. I mean, I'm a big boy, okay, but on average, you are not going to drag me 140 feet by yourself.
I'm gonna do my best if I have to.
Yeah, but you're not. You know, I think this was more than one person, and
And did they say how many prints they found?
no, it just said bloody footprints were on the floor, and they know that whoever the suspect or suspects attempted to clean the scene. Kitchen floor looked like it had been mopped. The carpet looked like it had been vacuumed. If you just going to break in and rob this guy, why are you
Uh-huh.
going to go through all that effort?
I'm not. Trust me, I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
I'm
because
taking the stuff and leaving.
whoever done this knew this guy.
Well, I was thinking something else too.
Tell me.
As a mother, he's in the Boy Scouts.
Oh, hadn't thought about that. Maybe I don't know. No history of it. Nothing's ever come out along
No,
those
but
lines.
see, most of the time there's not until there is.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I'm not accusing this man. That's not even worthy of him. That
Yeah,
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, I mean, why? If I'm a mama, I don't want nobody to know I did what I did. But you ain't gonna mess with my youngin' either.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And
but
guys, we're speculating at this point.
we are very much so speculating. I know nothing, and it ain't me. My
Yeah.
boys are grown, grown.
Well,
We live nowhere near here.
I mean, they normally accounts say they normally, because they live close to each other, would drive to each other's house to check on each other. But this particular time, Mama did not drive to his house. She called the authorities. Or did she drive there and see this shit? Did she run up on something she weren't supposed to see? Is that where the cleanup and the vacuuming came in at? Is that
Hmm,
why? I mean, there.
that is good. But why didn't you just tell him that?
Well, you know, if it's her estranged daughter-in-law, and I don't know. I don't know. This
Uh,
is one of those cases. It's just bizarre. This probably deserves a podcast all its own.
You know what? We're gonna do one on it.
It's just all,
Look for this one. This will be the next podcast.
yeah.
Mark my words.
Well, there's some speculation that they feel like this was targeted and that law enforcement had an idea, but not enough evidence. And you alluded to it. Maybe he was involved in something that got him in trouble.
Yeah.
They know it was a blazer that was last seen at his home shortly after he was thought to have arrived home. Did he interrupt the random burglary robbery?
Burglary.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
so welcome. That's what we do. We pick
I
up for each
always
other.
have trouble trying to say burglary.
You said it that fine that time.
I know, but I can't say it 5 times fast.
Well,
Um,
don't just say it once.
but it just seems really unusual. Why go through the effort of trying to bury him unless because he had been out of town, you're going to kill him, drag him out, and bury him. You got scared and ran off because he was buried in a shallow grave with a piece of plywood placed over him.
Is
From
that
the
how they did
house,
it?
that's how they did it. From the house to where he was found, all together, they account for like 140 feet. You probably were exhausted if you were able to drag this 300-pound man that far. I, I I think just speculating, okay. Somebody knew him, decided this would be a perfect opportunity, killed him because he was stabbed to death, got cold feet and realized they were not capable of executing this crime from A to Z, buried him out in a shallow grave, tried to clean up so nobody could say, hey, I was there in the house, in sheer panic, and left because you know yourself, in all speculation, let's just say somebody tried to come and take care of one of us in this manner, okay, their prints would be all over the house because they've been in our house before. If it was a family member or whatever, they've been here before. What are
So
you going? Why are you going to try and clean it up? I think somebody panicked doing this and decided to take off, thinking they were going to get caught, and has still got away with it. I mean, does it look that way to you?
I would say something about law enforcement, but I'm not because they
Yeah,
need all the help they can get.
yeah. I mean, he visited her around 9 a.m. and she wanted him to stay the night, and he declined, which is normal. He's been on a trip to Wilmington. He wants to go home, be in his own bed, and he goes home, and she
But he
tries to
wished he
call him.
stayed in Wilmington.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you know, and that might be that mother's intuition. He wouldn't spend the night because she probably looked at him and said, "Oh, look, oh, baby boy, you're probably tired. Come." But it's normal. You live 3 miles down the road. Oh, mom, I'll talk to you more. I'm gonna go home, get in my own bed, and just maybe she realized something's not right here and called the police. I mean, I can see that happening. I, I, I don't know. It's one of those things to where I really don't know why they haven't had anything come of this. I don't know how much more evidence they would have. I don't know, how his estranged wife, how much of a suspect she may have been. It does appear robbery was not the motive. But folks, again, if you have any information regarding this case, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation phone number is 1-800-334-3000. That's 1-800-334-3000. And with that, we'll go over to our next case. And this is a sad one as well. And this is a case involving Chance Douglas Smith. And this happened in Stanley County in the city of Locust. And this happened on December 13th, 2003, which would have been a Saturday. Approximately 3:49 p.m., 6-year-old Chance Douglas was reported missing from his grandfather's residence located in Locust, North Carolina. Volunteer police and firefighters searched for Chance and located him approximately 11:30 p.m. And I'm sorry, guys, but he looks like he was last, like I said, he was located around 11:30 p.m. in a pasture near the residence where he'd last been seen. He was transported to Stanley Memorial Hospital. He died in the early mornings hours of Sunday, December 14th, 2003. The investigation reveals that Chance was killed in a location other than the horse pasture where his body was found. SBI assistance for the investigation has requested several agents have conducted numerous interviews and continue to pursue leads in regards to Chance. And so far, nothing has come up. And again, this little baby here, he's 6 years old, definitely
Mm-mm.
deserves some closure.
That tugs at your mama's heart.
Tugs in mine, that's for sure. There had been a lot of speculation about this case.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
A lot.
Wow.
And do you remember this case?
I'm gonna say I don't think I do. It was I don't. I had so much going on back then.
Yeah, I do not remember this one at all. His parents have never been named. They don't know who his parents were. They just know it was his grandfather's pasture. And
Why they never named the parents?
I don't know.
Huh. Well, please call the Locust Police Department. The number is 704-888-4744 if you have any information. I'm pretty sure the grandfather's not here, but he has family. Please.
Yeah, there's been speculation that maybe he actually died of hypothermia after getting lost in the woods, and his grandparents just didn't report it. Um, But police have said that the boy died from traumatic head injuries, and so that kind of kicks that theory out. I wonder if somebody got mad with this little fella, hit him in the head. Um, was he
Mm,
actually struck or kicked by a horse? And grandparents
mm.
panicked. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
that's good, but they got that was an accident. Nobody, if an accident like a horse kicking them in the head,
Hmm.
they wouldn't have went to jail or nothing. I mean, they've got to live with that on their heart, whether they tell or not. They had to
Yeah,
live with that.
they do. They do.
That would have been their, that I would have lived with it on mine, telling or not. It's sad all the way around.
Yeah. We do know that the grandfather's name was Randall Lane. His parents were a Pamela Undy and
I
Smith,
didn't, I didn't
and
think you
Paul
knew it.
Douglas Smith. Yeah, they said it hadn't been named, but just doing a quick search, they have been named.
Oh, okay.
So, but other than that, there's just very little known.
There's no, none. Just
And I
please.
mean, did he fall off a horse? I mean, but then they said they didn't feel like he died in the horse pasture; that he was taken to the horse pasture. So, did somebody get mad with his child, strike him, take him to the horse pasture? So, it would, hey, head injuries, horse, this could have happened. I'm
I
not sure.
don't know. I'm not sure, but please call the Locust Police Department at 704-888-4744 or the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-888-4744. 334 3000.
Yeah, sad, very sad.
Very.
Well, the engineer's given me a clue. Looks like we've got time for one more. So we'll go over Deborah Gale Nunnery, and then we'll close everything down.
And
But
this
again,
was,
folks, if you know anything at all, um, this Chance Smith, that's just heartbreaking.
oh
That breaks
gosh,
my
that is
heart.
heartbreaking.
So
In this case, it's actually on your birthday, honey.
it's on my birthday, and we've actually covered this case in another podcast.
We have 10/26/1997. I had to catch myself. I was going to say your
You're getting ready to
year.
rattle my birthday off, weren't
I
you?
was. I can't do
Uh,
that.
and
And the,
and this is one of those cases here that it's baffling. This is a strange case.
yeah,
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's all right. In Clinton and Sampson County. It was on Saturday, October 26th, 1997. In the early morning hours, the body of Deborah Gale Nunnery was found on the roadway of Underwood Road in the Snow Hill community of Clinton. Deborah would sometimes stay with her parents, although she had her own residence in Quail Run Trailer Park in Roseboro. She had been last seen at her parents' residence earlier that Sunday morning. At the time of her death, she was 40 years old and the mother of a son. She was a white female, approximately 5'4" in height, with blue eyes and brown hair. According to family member, she had asthma but would often walk for exercise in the areas of her relatives' homes. When she was last seen that Sunday, she was wearing a long sleeved brown shirt and blue jeans. Investigators have exhausted leads and are seeking assistance from anyone who is in the Snow Hill community area of Clinton off Highway 24, also known as Roseboro Highway, on that Sunday morning in 97. To date, no one has been arrested for the tragic murder of this mother. If you have information about this case, call the Sampson County Sheriff's Office at 910-592-4141. Again, that's 910-592-4141. If you have any information about this case or any other unsolved case in North Carolina, please contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-334-3000. There is a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the death of Deborah Gale Nunnery.
Yeah, tragic,
Very,
very tragic.
very, very.
All intent purposes, it was said that she was a good person, down to earth, never had any trouble with anybody. Um, this is one of those things to where I I wonder if somebody saw her out taking a walk, and this was a crime of opportunity.
Mhm. I think
And
so.
it just says that they found her body,
It's
and
not said anything else.
yet we don't know if she was SA'd or anything. Um,
How
I,
how? It does
yeah,
not say how.
doesn't say how she was killed. We just have very little information on this, and I have done a lot of research on this case, and I've not been able to find much of anything at all. Um, there's no mention of um, how she met her demise. Nothing,
Mm.
nothing at all. And again, October 26, 1997, in the early morning hours, um, she just liked to go for walks, around her parents' residents.
That
And
early in the early morning. Now, how early are we talking?
everything I can put together around 7,
Okay.
8, 8 p.m. Not too,
A.M.
yeah, a.m. Not too early, you know. Had somebody been seeing her around
They
and
knew her routine.
got a feel for her routine,
Mm-hmm. Makes
um,
sense.
is it's just crazy. I mean, but she left behind a small child. She was petite, 5'4", brown hair, blue eyes, and did have asthma, so she wasn't jogging. She was just going for a walk. And that's one of those things to where, why isn't there more information
I know.
regarding her? You know, um, and again, folks, we've put the number out there for you several times. If you know anything at all,
Please call.
yeah, please. It's just this is one of those things where this case here, um, it, it bothers me. This one bothers me because there's nothing there. There's nothing, absolutely nothing.
She's got a son who's a grown man now.
Yeah,
He
and
he would like some closure, I'm sure.
this is just one of those things to where she probably went walking in her. This particular community is a small community. It's not a big community. It's very small, close knit. She went walking around her parents' neighborhood because she felt safe there. This is not one of those things she was expecting. Um, there's
One of the safest places she's felt.
yeah, there's no evidence that she was involved with a man who might have been trouble. There's no other cases that are around this area in this time frame. Um, we don't know how she even met her demise. We just know they found her and she passed, and they have ruled it a homicide, so it was not a natural cause. So, but again, folks, if you have any information regarding this case, please contact the Sampson County Sheriff's Department 910-99 or excuse me 592-4141. That's the Sampson County Sheriff's Office. Or you can contact the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-334-3000.
Or as they say, if you see something, say something.
If you see something, say something. Guys, we've reached the end of our podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this. But more importantly, we hope somebody listening to this has some information that could shed some light on any of these cases and hopefully give a family closure.
And we will be back with more very soon.
Yep.
Sooner than it has been before.
Absolutely, guys. We're getting back on a regular schedule now, and we'll follow back up, and hopefully we'll go over a part 2 of this. And but guys, again,
Thank you for listening.
please like, share, and subscribe. We have finally hit over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. It's much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you. It's all because of you.
Absolutely. So, and with that, my bride, until next time,
Until next time, have a Bucklesberry lemonade kind of day.
take care, guys.